And we are live. All right, so off to a good start. Like we are going to have some surviving innkeepers here against this adventure deck, at least unless they Massacre Girl us next turn. And at the very least, if they do Massacre Girl us, we get to draw some cards. The question is now, do I cast a Borrower main phase in order to see if we draw like a tap land, a Skyland? Yeah, because we could draw a Clover this turn and just cast it. I'm certainly going to cast a Borrower now. If they have Massacre Girl, so be it. We at least drew cards off of a couple of our creatures here. And this Escape the Wilds looks like it's going to reload us quite nicely. Now there's the question of whether we should Lovestruck Beast. We could do it now to get an extra 1/1, or we could wait, see if we get wiped next turn. Just Beast next turn to have the extra 1/1, I think. I don't see any real need to fire it off right now. Pretty happy just making the attack. I don't think the extra 1/1 is going to make a huge difference next turn, and it would be nice to have this thing be able to attack in case you get board wiped. There's also a chance we'll end up getting a Clover off the Escape the Wilds, getting 2 1/1s off it. And, alright, opponent's on some kind of Nissa ramp list, so it doesn't look like they're necessarily doing Lucky Clover things. That was the first thing I thought. They might have Massacre Girl anyway, of course. Nissa's not too much of a threat, though, so this turn we have some choices. I think I just want Nissa off the board for now. I can't get rid of her quite yet, and pretty scary if she stays on the board, because the opponent can cast big things. And meanwhile, I do have this Escape the Wilds. In theory, I could try to cast this, and then if I hit one land, I can borrow the Nissa in addition to having played Escape the Wilds. That's pretty tempting. The thing is, with these two Innkeepers in play, it's just really good to be drawing more cards by playing adventure creatures. So here I'm actually pretty happy to go ahead and borrow the Nissa. This is a close play, by the way. I'm not sure this is right. I'm going to borrow the Nissa. You go ahead and just... this time I'll make the 1/1 with the Lovestruck Beast. Throw this down, draw the cards. I could have just cast Lovestruck Beast to see if I drew a tap land or Skyland, but in this case I think the 1/1's enough kind of almost free value that I'm happy just to cast it. So great, now we have 2 Lucky Clovers at the ready. Means we're pretty likely to be able to get enormous value the second we draw something like a Bone Crusher Giant. This is still a bit scary, but the Lovestruck Beast at least stops the 3/3s from getting in damage, and We can attack Nissa with Borrower and a Lovestruck Beast next turn to at least force a kill on one of the lands. Or those Casualties of War this turn, which is, wow, kind of suspicious play, honestly. That didn't accomplish very much. And now we can attack for 10, which is quite a lot of damage. I'm just going to go ahead and escape the wilds this turn, because now that we're attacking for 10, just finding something like a Bone Crusher Giant is going to be super lethal. And we hit. Alright. No Bone Crusher Giants, but not a bad set of cards. Brazen Borrower is decent. I'm just going to go ahead and play the Clover out of my Exile Zone this turn. Hit the opponent, we're not going to die next turn. Even 2 lands attacking is not going to be enough damage to do substantial work. And opponent actually does need to come up with some blockers now, because Brazen Borrower is getting for 3. They need to block at least 2 of our creatures, and it looks like they can't. Okay. So they got off to a pretty slow start there on the draw. Even just playing kind of normal creatures were able to win, but Innkeepers were good, of course. And I don't really know what they're doing. I could bring in some counter spells, but I don't see that being super necessary. I don't really know what I'm trying to counter. They're a ramp deck, so Mystical Dispute doesn't seem that good. It's possible that countering Nissa is important enough that I do want a few counters, in which case, what am I cutting for them? Great Henge seems pretty good because they're not going to be the kind of deck that kills Lovestruck Beast all that easily. Fae of Wishes. Usually I'm happy going down to 3 of this card if we're on the draw and we're not up against deck where it's a good blocker. It does block lands, but the blocking land damage is the thing that kills us. The thing that kills us is the 8/8 Hydroid Crazy, so I'm happy to cut a Fae of Wishes, bring in either a Disdainful Stroke or a Negate. Since I've seen Beanstalk Giant, I think I'm pretty happy with... Negate stops Casualties in Nissa, Disdainful Stroke also stops Casualties in Nissa. Negate stops Beanstalk Giant, Disdainful Stroke stops Krasis from hitting the battlefield. Probably Stroke's a bit better then. Mystical Dispute I don't like, it's just too clumsy to hold up. I'm gonna try it like this. It looks like we have a few viewers. Hello, viewers. You're all welcome to put up a greeting here. I guess since you're all here, I'll talk a little bit about me. You can see a description in the Twitch channel thing below there. But oh, hey there! It seems like we have a new follower. Really good to see you. Name is hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to try doing that right now. But let's think about whether we're keeping this hand. So, the notorious All the Enablers and No Payoffs hand. The thing is, though, we have a total of 19 adventure creatures in the deck right now, and all of them are great at the moment. I'm actually okay to keep this. I think it's maybe a little bit of a sketchy, risky keep, but when we have 19 hits... Okay, we also have a third Lucky Clover. I'm going to play out the Innkeeper now. It does mean we take a bit more damage off lands, but if I draw a Fae of Wishes, I definitely just want to cycle it and find some other stuff to do. So fortunately, the opponent's deck is a bit slow and is getting off to a slow start here, so I don't feel super threatened at the moment. We're going to play this out, making sure to play a blue source this turn so we can cast Brazen Borrower next turn if they don't give us anything to bounce. Again, that's something I'm happy to do because with all these Clovers, I just really want to draw into the good adventure creatures, like Beanstalk Giant. Opponent's deck is interesting. It looks like a bit like the Luis Salvato ramp deck, especially with these Dimir Guild Gates, but I don't think the Salvato ramp deck was playing any copies of Beanstalk Giant, so I'm a bit confused. Okay, so we have a second Innkeeper, which does make you want to hold off on this Borrower a little bit. Still possible to bring a Massacre Girl at some point. That's a little iffy. Actually, because I can cast Innkeeper and Borrower next turn, I'm just going to hold off on casting Innkeeper here. Play this tap land, play this Clover. Now, of course, all the Clovers can get a little awkward if we have a Brazen Borrower, because it makes it harder to cast the Borrower and have it survive, but we already have one Clover in play. I think we're kind of in for a penny, in for a pound. Opponent is ramping up over there. So we're going to have to find something to do pretty soon, but should be pretty doable. Let's go ahead and Innkeeper. Take a little more damage, Borrower. And hopefully finding a Bone Crusher Giant would be ideal, just so we can kill a big creature. And we're whiffing so far, but if all they have is one big creature next turn, we have a lot of ways that we can defend ourselves from that. Nope, it's Massacre Girl. That's a problem. Okay, well, this is going to be interesting. We're going to need to find a Beanstalk Giant or an Escape the Wilds pretty fast. So there we go. All right, that's a good one. And certainly the card I'm just going to cast this turn. We just need to find action for next turn because they can start presenting big threats quickly here. Another Edgewall Innkeeper, not exactly ideal, but Fae of Wishes is going to give us a lot of action. For one, it can get Lava Coil to kill this Massacre Girl. Hopefully, if If they play Nissa, it can get a Spyglass to stop the Nissa. This is going to be kind of tight because, at least if they have another big threat, we're going to be kind of low on life. It looks like they're just casting Casualties of War. Perfect. All right, so they just went for that. That took their whole turn. And we have another red source as backup. So the question here is, do I escape to the wilds again? We're at 12 life. We're going to 10. Nissa plus Massacre would take us to 3. And I can either use the Fae of Wishes or the Escape to the Wilds this turn. If I use Fae of Wishes, I'm going to get Lava Coil, and I guess I just get another Escape to the Wilds, right, if I do that? That actually seems pretty reasonable. I guess I don't have to get Lava Coil. I could get some other big card, like a... I guess I could get Pulse of Marasa to get back an Innkeeper and gain 6 life, or get back a Borrower. That's kind of tempting too, frankly. Interesting. Yeah, actually, with just Massacre Girl facing off against me right now, it's possible they have another Casualties next turn. Let's not expose the red source in case they have another Casualties next turn. I'm going to make the following play, which is definitely a little risky. I don't necessarily love doing this, but I'm going to triple Granted here. We get a bunch of cheap stuff. Or not a bunch of cheap stuff, but a bunch of stuff that answers a variety of cards they could have. So, going to take... For sure I want Sorcerer's Spyglass. I would like to turn off Nissa, if at all possible. And Plane-Wide Celebration, good life gain. So is Pulse of Marasa. Plane-Wide Celebration is going to be something like gain 8, get back 2 Innkeepers. Pulse of Marasa is going to be something like gain 6, get back 1 Innkeeper. And I'm actually kind of okay with just the Pulse right now. I want to keep things a little cheaper. And then I'm just going to take Lava Coil here to make sure I can deal with the Massacre Girl. So the most likely scenario I can think of is they just play Nissa next turn, attack me for 7. And then I get to Lava Coil the Massacre Girl, cast Fae of Wishes, and Spyglass the Nissa, and hopefully stabilize, unless they have another Casualties of War. They do have another Casualties of War right now, and that's the best thing they can do this turn. That's not very scary. Okay, Gadwick draw 4 cards is pretty scary. Yeah, they might have gotten out ahead of us. I will say that Green Ramp feels like one of this deck's toughest matchups, just because a lot of their cards are not cards that we like answer super cleanly. Like Brazen Borrower is not very good against this kind of deck, for example. So what am I doing this turn? I have access to 7 mana. I can Pulse, cast Innkeeper, cast Fae of Wishes, and then be 1 mana short of doing anything else. Or I could Growth Spiral, then do all of that. And Massacre Girl takes me to 4, and Gadwick takes me to 1, except for that I Pulse and Marasa, so I'm back at 7. But you know, the actual logical thing I should do this turn is start with Sorceress Spyglass, because I need to see what I'm up against to have any hope of figuring out what to do with the rest of this turn. So Krasis, a bunch of Paradise Druids, and a Circuitous Route. So the Krasis is really scary, but there's not much I can do about it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and name Nissa. Else to name here. And we'll have to figure out what to do about the Krasis later. So this turn, I can pull some Marasa back the Innkeeper and Lava Coil the Massacre Girl. That seems good. I'd like to save casting Fae of Wishes until after I have an Innkeeper in play next turn, so let's just do this. And Borrower would let me repel Krasis for a turn, but I don't think repelling Krasis and taking infinite damage is what's going to save me this game. So let's just turn off one of their damage sources. The Krasis is going to be a 7/7 next turn, which is, of course, huge and scary. Like, I think we're probably going to lose this one. But so it goes. I think we're just trying to set ourselves up to be in the best possible position to win the game in a future turn. Interesting. So they're actually waiting on casting the Krasis, which is smart. It's going to be really big, and they know we don't have any discard spells. We, in fact, don't have any discard spells. And because I don't have anything in the sideboard right now like Mass Manipulation, we don't even really have a good way to use a card like Granted to stop Hydroid Krasis. So it looks like our opponent's just planning on casting a giant Krasis to kill us, which is not a bad idea. We really don't have super clean answers to that right now. And that's something that we could consider putting in the sideboard. Something like a Mass Manipulation or even an Ugin could be pretty good. But let's see what I can draw into this turn that might be helpful. So at this point, I think the Scry of Temple of Mystery is more useful than the extra mana is likely to be. Looking for Beanstalk Giant, Bone Crusher Giant, things like that could be pretty good. Innkeeper. Fae of Wishes. Keep in mind that we can bounce Fae of Wishes back to the hand if we have really nothing else better to do. Beanstalk Giant's fantastic, so let's just go ahead and cycle that for free. Go ahead and grab probably Mountain Double Island, I think. Mountain. Grab Mountain Forest Island here since I'm probably casting Growth Spiral either way. The way we kill our opponent this kind of game, by the way, is by casting a Giant Explosion at them. The question is just whether the Krasis is going to let us survive long enough that casting a Giant Explosion is a reasonable plan. Okay, putting in Temple of Epiphany, because it's the best land we have. And then we are extremely likely to be cycling the Fave Wishes back to our hand. So if you look at the battlefield for a second, right now we have access to 7, 12 mana, which means that if we get Fave Wishes back to our hand, we have enough mana to cast Beanstalk Giant, cycle Fave Wishes, and then cast Fling. We can't, however, expansion the Fling. That whole cycle costs 15 mana, more than we have. So the question is there some spell I can get with Fave Wishes that lets us survive? And I think Planewide Celebration is that spell. More to the point, Lovestruck Beast. Actually, with 2 Clovers in play, Lovestruck Beast helps us not take a bunch of random damage from Paradise Druids. I'm actually kind of into it for next turn. I think we're going to have just enough time to pull that kind of thing off. I might be wrong, we'll see. If anyone has good line ideas, I'd love to hear them, by the way. It's going to be a tricky one. How big is this crisis going to be? 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 14, 12 crisis. All right, so Planewide Celebration does let us live for a turn. Nissa first, okay, so it's going to be a slightly bigger crisis. I haven't really counted. So she's turned off by Spyglass, but of course the crisis is going to be quite large. Still shouldn't be large enough to kill us through a Planewide Celebration. But it's going to draw them a lot of cards, and there are probably ways that drawing a lot of cards could let them kill us. For example, if they Casualties of War the Spyglass and then make a hasty land with Nissa, or they play a bunch of blue spells with Gadwick and tap all our blockers. This is going to be quite an interesting game. I don't really know how this goes from here. Kind of grateful they didn't just cast the Crisis last turn. I sort of get the idea of saving up for a really big one, but it's like you cannot give our deck that much time. Even if you are the ramp deck and you're big, you can't give our deck that much time. Okay, so opponent makes the smart choice to go ahead and make a slightly smaller Crisis that lets them hold up Paradise Druids to attack with, because they know they do have to get us dead. We're certainly going to block one of these Paradise Druids if we can. That's going to prevent some small amount of damage next turn. And we are not playing to... We don't need to draw cards with Innkeeper at this point. We can just really want to use it to soak up damage. We have all the cards we need through Fae of Wishes here. The question is just, is our opponent going to find some way to interact with us in time? Fae comes back. We are going to... And we're also going to have to hope they don't have any counters, because if they can counter Beanstalk Giant, the jig is up. We're going to Granted. Fetch a bunch of cards, one of which is going to be Planewide Celebration to gain enough life to stay alive. Let's see if we have any other good answers to Crisis. Ooh, we could actually once in future back up Brazen Borrower. How much life are they at right now? 21. We have 6, 12 lands. So Beanstalk Giant plus expansion's only 24 damage. 26 if we get another land with once in future. And that doesn't work. If they play another Crisis, they're going to kill us. So we need to find something better to do. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch. So I need to get Fling. I need to get Expansion. And then the question is, what else do I grab? Planewide Celebration or something to get back Brazen Borrower are the 2 options. Yeah, Brazen Borrower is just going to let them gain a little too much life here. I have access to just enough mana to use Lovestruck Beast and cast Planewide Celebration, so I think that's the play. I have a suspicion this is not going to work. I don't have a good feeling about this. We're going to make a bunch of blockers. I think we should basically assume that nothing is blocking. We're thinking about how much life to gain off of the Planewide Celebration here. So let's assume we're going to take a total of... Oh, 18 is such an inconvenient amount of damage. All right, well, let's do this then. We're going to gain 4, gain 4, gain 4, return 1 permanent. That permanent is going to be this land, which is going to deal them 2 damage, basically. And this might be wrong. It might be that somehow getting back Brazen Borrower is helpful here, but I am frankly out of time to think about that kind of thing. So we'll see if the opponent can figure it out. They have infinite mana. They just play another Crisis. They get to a life total that we can't possibly kill them from. They can tap all of our blockers. We die. Casualties of War shouldn't matter at this point, though, because we have enough red mana to live through one of those. Massacre Girl doesn't matter. A bunch of their cards don't matter, but Crisis is the card that does matter, and that one is very bad indeed. They've drawn a lot of cards this game. They are pretty likely to be in Crisis territory here. Yep, That's kind of a small crisis. What are they looking for? Or is this just cast many Hydrate Crises, enough to beat us through like a Brazen Borrower? Oh, they drew Legion's End. Okay, well, that does deal us exactly 18 damage, so we're dead. Almost had him. Almost had him. Maybe there was another line there. Okay, so we saw Massacre Girl, we saw Casualties of War, nothing that surprising. I think I'm basically happy keeping the deck the same. There's some question about whether Brazen Borrower is actually good. We did see Paradise Druid that game, which we hadn't before. Brazen Borrower is also a reasonable attacker, although it does kind of fail to Massacre Girl. I think I'm maybe happy going to 3 of these and bringing in maybe either a Mystical Dispute or a Negate here. Gadwick in particular is kind of annoying. I would like having to have more ways to stop Gadwick from coming down. So yeah, why don't we do this? We're going to cut a Borrower, add 2 Dispute after cutting a Borrower and cutting a... maybe a Lovestruck Beast. The sizing is not that great in this matchup. I'll cut a Growth Spiral. One nice thing about Borrower is it like gives me something to do if they don't play in a Mystical Dispute, which is pretty good. I'm gonna try it like this. This could be a horrible way to build this. I'm not sure. It's possible, depending on how many Massacre Girls they have, that like Edgewelling Keeper isn't even that good. This is the trouble. Somebody rogue decks your rogue deck, you sideboard. This hand is pretty good. We have the double Innkeeper, so we can get a lot of card draw off of those. Got all our colors. Hard to complain too much. Opponent mulling again there. Don't remember if they mulled last. I think they actually did mull last game too. So, tough match for them for sure. Gonna Temple. Not sure what kind of thing I'm looking for here. Disdainful Stroke actually seems kind of good. Because given all these Innkeepers, have a pretty quick start. Be able to maybe sit back. I'm gonna keep that one. Or lands are nice, of course, because we have this Escape to the Wilds, but... well, I guess it's possible they have the card Legion's End, huh? Well, if they have turn 2 Legion's End, they're going to kill both of our Innkeepers, and there's not much we can do about that, because we kind of built our hand around this working. So let's see if we get got. If we get got, this is going to get a lot harder. Nope, didn't get got. Okay, so now, even if the Legions and the Innkeepers, we are still drawing plenty of cards off of them. And they can cast Circuitous Route next turn, but we're at least getting built up enough that we can hold up Disdainful Stroke next turn, as well as Growth Spiral. So Growth Spiral looks awesome here, by the way. Gives us something at instant speed to do. Happy to attack these Innkeepers. They drew their cards. I am super happy if they want to give up some mana in order to kill an Innkeeper, since we have no more adventure creatures at the moment. These games do seem like they're going to be very interesting ones overall. 2 decks with very big effects going up against each other. I would love to draw a Bone Crusher Giant right now and just take this Paradise Druid right off the table, or a Brazen Borrower, of course. One thing I'm very scared of next turn is just a big Gadwick, which I have no way of stopping at all. But let's see what we dig up off this Growth Spiral. If that happens, just going to put this into play tapped. We are running on exactly empty as far as resources go, but Escape to Wilds will help a lot next turn. Meanwhile, let's see if they jump something into Disdainful Stroke. Definitely wishing this were a Mystical Dispute right about now. Okay, so it looks like this is just going to be Massacre Girl, probably, and we're going to counter it. No, we would like to keep the Innkeepers, thank you very much. They have many other scary things they could do in the future, but we at least got that one. Very happy we had the main deck, the Disdainful Stroke moved into the main deck there. Okay, so now we have the choice of Escape to the Wilds versus Lovestruck Beast. I think I'm still in the mode of wanting to draw cards while the card draw is good. I'm going to go ahead and cast Lovestruck Beast. I would also love to just hit Castable Bone Crusher Giant off of this. Wow, that was good. Okay, that was very good. So let's take out this mana source here. Actually, it's possible it's just correct to cast Bone Crusher Giant and draw 2 more cards there. Not entirely sure. That was maybe a little bit lazy of me, but they already cast 1 Massacre Girl, so I'm hoping they don't have another one at the moment. I do like the idea of reducing all their Gadwicks and such. Nissa? Okay, Nissa's not too scary. Occurs to me the opponent could have cast Nissa into Casualties of War that turn if they'd had another untapped forest, which is pretty scary. Oh wow, okay, Great Henge is absurd, so I don't know if we've made all the right decisions, but we've drawn absurdly this game, partly because this deck is just very, very good. And now I get to do all sorts of nasty things, so Gonna go ahead and attack Nissa first here with everything and kill her unless they give up the island, which seems like what I want to be doing. So we'll see if they want to pick off an innkeeper. Okay, so they pick off an innkeeper, lose their Nissa. I'm perfectly fine with that. There's a world where I want to try and cast the Bone Crusher Giant first to see what happens. Probably this is that world actually, but the nice thing now is I just get to kill their island with the other Bone Crusher. Notice I'm not really thinking all these lines through. It's because I think we're tremendously ahead this game, and it probably doesn't matter that much. But yeah, don't be like me. Be less lazy. I'm also trying to hopefully hurry things along for y'all viewers. So we're just gonna kill this land now. We could play Lucky Clover, but I'd rather just make sure we get rid of this now. And now we're just in a position that should be basically unbeatable for them from where they are. The Disdainful Stroke on Massacre Girl there was really important. We got that one down. I wonder if they were playing around Negate. They had the Nissa that turn as well. So that's the win. It's performing well so far here. If anyone has any questions about playing Temur Clover, my results, anything like that, anything Magic related, I'm happy to answer them during these intermittent periods while waiting for games, although it does seem like the ladder is faring pretty fast tonight. This hand is very bad. Cannot keep 5 lands Beanstalk Giant Great Henge. Great Henge looks super awkward in hands like this, which is one of the reasons I'm a little iffy about it. This hand is amazing. So, but figuring out what not to keep is really tricky. Because now we get to go Lucky Clover into Beanstalk Giant, which is absurd. We have a Lovestruck Beast for defense, which is also great. The question is, do we throw back Escape to the Wilds, or do we throw back one of these lands? We really need to hit our 3rd land drop. That's important. We have a Temple of Mystery, which helps us scry into one. But an Escape to the Wilds gives us something to do with our Beanstalk Giant mana. So all of that in mind, I'm going to put Breeding Pool back. If I fail to draw a 3rd land, and I look very silly doing that. The other thing I could do is just put back a Lovestruck Beast and hope I draw interactive spells, since I can use Temple to Scry for something like another Beast, or a Bone Crusher Giant, or a Brazen Borrower, all of which are great with Lucky Clover and a Beanstalk Giant. And actually, the more I think about that, the more it seems like that's actually clearly the play. We're going to use Temple of Mystery to try and find some interaction. Breeding Pool, I'm not that interested right now. I have enough lands to go Clover into Beanstalk, which is all I want to do with my life at the moment. Looking for Bone Crushers, that sort of thing. Growth Spiral is okay. I mean, at least gives me something to do after Bone Crusher Giant if I have nothing else to do next turn, which is a nice little combo. Having 2 mana cards is great. For that reason. Hope they don't return to Nature Us. Good, just a Paradise Druid, sure. Steam Vent's pretty unimpressive, so we're just gonna Fertile Footsteps. Now they have the 2nd red source, it's extra easy to just have blue and green be our grabs. And I don't have any particular reason to play Growth Spiral now. I can't play any 1-mana spells off this hand, so I'm just gonna let this go. Hopefully they just do something like a Questing Beast. That's perfect. So that gives us a ton of incredible draws next turn off this Escape to the Wilds. So as long as we hit a Brazen Borrower or a Bone... Oh, there we go. So we hit something like that, and now our opponent's like entire 3 turns are just completely invalidated. We're just going to throw everything back and make them start over again. 2nd Brazen Borrower. Alright, so we're definitely just going to go ahead and Escape to the Wilds, leaving up, I think, red and blue, because Bone Crusher Giant's another thing we could find. Actually, I'll leave up green and blue. Even if I do find Bone Crusher Giant, I'm pretty happy just borrowing both of these cards anyway. And green and blue let me do things like cast, make Lovestruck Beast tokens, or cast a Lovestruck Beast. I don't know. Let's escape. Hopefully we find at least 1 untapped land. Yep, got there. And we get to play 2 lands this turn. So going to 8 is tricky just because this Questing Beast is hitting us in chunks of 4. I don't really think we need to do anything Lovestruck Beasty this turn. I'm going to go ahead and take 2 off this one. Play these Steam Vents tapped. Just double Borrower. We're going to go to 6 if they just have a land for the Questing Beast next turn. But after that, I'll have a Lovestruck Beast to block and a Brazen Borrower to bounce at the same time, so it's pretty unlikely that it gets to hit us again. Let's see if they have that 4th land before we start thinking about future turns. Something like Rankle, discard our other Brazen Borrower would be a little annoying. Okay, opponent is Abzan, that's interesting. My guess is that means there's a very high chance of Night of Autumn, which maybe makes us think about how we want to time the deployment of Lucky Clovers. Bone Crusher Giant is fantastic. So we got these 3 cards, all of which I need to do something with this turn. If I cast Escape to the Wilds, that lets me make Lovestruck Beast tokens and hold up Bone Crusher Giant. think I'm into escape. It's like using a lot of mana this turn, but the card draw is just invaluable. I don't really need this growth spiral because I have the escape. Cool, hit 2 land drops off of that. The forest is free, and then we think about what we want to do with the turn. Get the other 2 borrowers. That's a lot of borrowing we get to do, maybe. I think taking damage doesn't feel like what I really want to be doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and go for... The question is, do 2 1/1 tokens even matter? Do I even want to use this Love Struck, or do I just want to hold up Borrower and Bone Crusher at the same time? I can handle something like a Rankle if they cast one. I guess if they cast Rankle, I can just double borrow anyway. I'm going to go ahead and put that out tapped. That might be wrong. Hard to say. Heart's Desire, and then I'm just going to hold all the Brazen Borrowers in the world. And then next turn I can double Fae of Wishes to get like Pulse of Marasa and a bunch of other stuff and be fine. I could cast Lovestruck Beast, but if they just kill it and hit me to 2 with Questing Beast, that's kind of awkward. I'll just wait to cast that one next turn, I think. You lose Growth Spiral, that's fine. Okay, so notice that we did not kill the Questing Beast on our turn. The reason for this is because we want to make sure they don't have a second Questing Beast they can cast because it's legendary. So let's just double stomp it freely. Opponent should not have any pump spells in their Abzan deck. They cast Giant Growth right there. I die and look very, very silly, but fortunately that did not happen. We get to stay at 6. Other than Questing Beast, I'm guessing they shouldn't have too many hasty sources of damage. Rankle, definitely another one worth thinking about. We had Rankle covered that turn as well, of course. Yeah, in retrospect, very happy with the decision to bottom Lovestruck Beast. I think just, especially since we're on the play, just having a bunch of mana and Escape the Wilds, usually you can dig into things that interact with what most decks in the format are doing. Hey, son of a lich, good to see ya. I think you corresponded on Reddit with me at some point. And belated hi, by the way, because I'm not looking at chat super closely at the moment. Been a series of interesting decisions. Opponent now just looking at their hand, wondering how it all went wrong. They're going to fight on. Good work, opponent. Soldier on. Okay, so they look to be Abzan Adventures. Maybe that means there's no Knight of Autumn coming. So my only real concern at this point is that I'm going to win this game by a mile, pretty much no matter what happens, as long as I don't accidentally die to something silly. So let's just put a priority on not dying to something silly. I'm going to go for Double Granted here, grab Pulse of Marasa. And Plane-Wide Celebration. I guess we could get Sorcerer's Spyglass just to see a bit more of what's in their deck, but actually not the worst idea. Let's do that instead. I have a Borrower in my hand that I can use as well. Okay, I will take Pulse of Marasa and actually, maybe I'll just take Disdainful. Okay, opponent is tired of waiting and concedes. That's good. I like it when they're able to take away decisions for us by just scooping. I don't know when I was going to get there. We were going to win, but it was probably going to be slightly long and annoying for the opponent from their position. Abzan Adventures. Okay, opponent just gave up. That was probably a pretty frustrating game 1. Sorry about that, opponent. Sorry I was being a little slow, too. Alright, but that was a really tough first match. Pretty clean second match. Let's see about match number 3. There's also a chance, by the way, that my wife may jump in here at some point and make this a wife stream. Can't promise that, but she is hanging out on the couch right now, kind of looking at me with something that may be anticipation. Not sure. Okay, cannot keep this beautiful Hearthstone hand. This one is fine, though. Keep 6, and definitely throwing back a Bone Crusher Giant. We have 2 of it for 1, and we have no red mana. Opponent is on Cats, sure. So that's not the best thing to be facing with this particular hand. Lovestruck Beast. No, I pretty much want red mana and like Escape to the Wilds, like that kind of thing right now is what's going to help me. But yeah, this matchup, especially black-red Cats, is pretty tough. Oh, Dreadhorde Butcher, interesting. Okay. So that card is really annoying, in part because with Witch's Oven sacrificing it. Huh. Witch's Oven sacrificing it, we don't even get value off targeting with Brazen Borrower. Part of me almost just wants to cast Fae of Wishes this turn to see if we can stem the bleeding from the Butcher a little bit. The problem being, of course, that Fae of Wishes is really good in this matchup because it can get Spyglass, turn off Ovens. It's kind of like an important card. Interesting. Maybe the right play is Brazen Borrower here. Brazen Borrower is not really going to get much value almost no matter what happens, thanks to this Witch's Oven that's in play. So on second thought, let's click next, and I'm probably just going to borrow this thing. It sucks to do it, but the turn 1, turn 2 combo of Oven Butcher does not exactly leave us with a lot of choices. So you're just going to come in, sure, you can have my, you're going to take away the value I was going to get off this 3-1, but whatever. Wow, okay, they just let it go back to hand. That's kind of nice. Looks like they might just not have a lot going on. Double Oven, okay. Well, they don't have a lot going on, which is cool. Another Bone Crusher Giant is the opposite of cool. I really need a red source. Okay, cool, that's a red source later, but it works. And now we're definitely just going to cast the defensive Fae of Wishes. I'd rather this thing not start getting big again. And with Beanstalk Giant and the Bone Crushers, we should be able to draw this game out longer. Maybe just going to get Swift ended here. Claim the Firstborn and Oven, sure. I have not seen the card Claim the Firstborn in a while. I feel like that one's kind of gone out of vogue a little bit in these decks. Either way, we're going to get hit by it now. Take the Fae. This Dreadhorde Butcher is going to get pretty big soon. But 17 is still a pretty safe life total. Yeah, alright, so we're just going to Beanstalk Giant here, get a Mountain, and kill the Priest. Actually, no, hold on. We're going to get a Mountain and kill the Butcher. I'm being silly. Yeah, definitely killing the Butcher. The Priest is no threat to us. We have no creatures, and our opponent also has no creatures. So the thing we want to kill is the thing that's going to outgrow the Bone Crusher Giant next turn. Then we can kill a Priest later and start beating down with Borrower. Is there any reason to wait on this? There's no way the opponent's going to tap both of their Ovens. I'm just going to next anyway. I guess put them in a state of slight suspense. Because this thing can't grow. There's a chance this might affect whether they attack with their Priest or not, thinking that they might be able to use it post-combat to sack the Butcher and some other stuff. Cool, so they didn't attack with Priest. Now we're just going to stomp the Butcher. We're going to sack it, so goes. Yeah, Witch's Oven is probably the hardest card for us to face, which feels like a bit of a ridiculous thing to say because it's such a popular card, but it's a pretty unique effect. And usually one of our first priorities in this matchup is just doing something like fetching Spyglass to take out Oven. Okay, opponent's Lockthwaining aggressively over there. That makes sense. The second they find a cat, all is basically forgiven. All right, so now we just... so I don't need to kill the Priest right now. The Priest is actually not a big threat. I'm going to go ahead and play the Borrower, which I guess I also didn't need to do, so maybe that's a bit silly. The question is, do I also play a Giant? Because Giant is just an actual creature that attacks against an opponent who didn't have a lot to do last we checked. If they don't have two creatures to play, playing Giant is pretty good. Otherwise, it's pretty dangerous because it lets them have another Priest out. I think I'm okay passing here. But it's a pretty close call. Either way, we really need to escape the wilds at some point this game or we're going to have a lot of trouble. No matter what happens, opponent has a second Priest. All right. And a Midnight Reaper. All right, well, that's a really good reason to start killing Priests now. Goodbye. Yeah, going to be an interesting game. The Brazen Borrower actually attacking is extremely good news. So let's see. Next turn, the opponent's going to have access to 1 Lockthwain activation plus some mana. Question is, what is the risk they draw another creature to use Priest of the Forgotten Gods? I'm pretty into just casting Beanstalk Giant. I think we need to be slightly aggressive to have a chance at winning the game. And I think just shocking a Priest and letting them draw another card is not really what's going to do it here. So I think I need them to miss on a cheap creature next turn. But we're certainly disadvantaged at this point. They also have a ton of life off these food, which should buy them time to draw all sorts of nonsense. And if they ever draw a cat, things get really difficult. That's a Dreadhorde Butcher, so now that's a problem. It's a very big problem. Oh, especially because the Butcher pings the Borrower when it dies. Yeah, that's just disastrous. We're going to lose our whole board here. This is a situation where I'm pretty open to conceding if we don't draw Escape to the Wilds next turn. I'm going to try probably drawing one more card to see what happens, but yeah, just the ovens were a little too rough this game. Mulliganing was a little too rough, just a confluence of bad things. That's a Rankle. Okay, Rankle actually just goes ahead and does it. Scoop here. Yes, one thing about this deck, so I used to have a version of this that had 3 Return to Nature in the board and a much more limited sideboard. And it's hard for me to tell whether the trade-off of having more sideboard cards has been good enough to make up for not having the Return to Natures to board in matchups like this, specifically because Witch's Oven is so good. Because right now we just don't have anything to board in. But hopefully either they have a later oven next game, or we can just find Spyglass to turn off the ovens pretty quickly. But yeah, this is one of the deck's worst matchups. Wouldn't call it favorable at all. I'd say something I'll note about is that this deck is great against green-black food, medium against the red-black food variants, medium to pretty bad against the red-black food variants, I guess depending on how good the list is you're playing against and how good the player is, and like medium against fires. So it's like not great against the top 2 decks. It's just an incredible ladder deck because it beats up on everything else, which is very good news. This hand. Hand's good enough. It's got a Clover, it's got an Innkeeper. Can't be too fussy about hands like this. Innkeeper's a little vulnerable to Mayhem Devil, but hopefully you can get some value off it before that becomes relevant. And everything else in the hand looks pretty great. So, question of whether to play Innkeeper or not this turn. We definitely want to play something else on 2 next turn. I'm okay just going for Innkeeper. They shouldn't have anything that kills it before turn 3 if it gets value. They do have a Butcher on turn 2. I'm not even unhappy using Innkeeper. Just block a Butcher. Bay of Wishes is pretty good. I'm going to use that one to be granting some wishes. So the question is, do I Clover or do I Spiral? Definitely interested in spiraling here. Clover doesn't have anything to echo yet, and there's also the possibility to have an Embereth Shieldbreaker they might want to play next turn. So not exposing Clover until we can get some value off it seems nice. Scrying is also nice. Growth Spiral again, not helpful at this point. I think I'd rather just see what's underneath of it. I'd love a Bone Crusher Giant or a Lovestruck Beast next turn, obviously. There's some question about whether I attack with Innkeeper or not, because they could play Dreadhorde Butcher and grow it to the point where it breaks past Innkeeper. Or they just have nothing. That part's good. So at this point, I think the correct play is just to use Fae of Wishes to get Escape to the Wilds. Maybe that sounds a bit silly, but I think I'd almost rather just have the access to lots of card advantage soon than try to like stall and play Fae of Wishes later. Technically, Escape can get... I could Fae for Spyglass for me to stop Oven, but they obviously don't have any Ovens. The most likely card they're going to cast next turn is Mayhem Devil. There's another world where I cast Fae of Wishes to get Lava Coil or something like that. If I had 6 mana next turn, so I could Lucky Clover this turn and then Fae of Wishes for Lava Coil next turn, I'd do it. I just have nothing else going on right now, so I just need to get some cards. And that's the reason that Escaped Wilds is in the board, of course, just to get cards for us. Alright, my opponent just got stuck on 2 lands and died. That is fine, sure. So we had a reasonably good start there, as you saw. And game 3 gets trickier. So thinking of whether there's anything I want to bring in from the sideboard. There's a world where I think, like, okay, if I Fae of Wishes, the most likely thing I'm getting is going to be Sorcerer's Spyglass to turn off Witch's Oven. Or Flame Sweep to clear out a bunch of Priest of the Forgotten Gods. It's possible it's better to have 1 Lava Coil in my deck than it is to have it out here in the sideboard, because it's likely to be a relatively low priority to grab it. And it can answer Mayhem Devil, so that's a reasonably compelling argument. However, it's also true that like late game Mayhem Devil still represents a lot of damage, and sometimes Lava Coil is still going to be the most efficient card to deal with it, so it's tricky. Because Chandra also kills Mayhem Devil, I'm kind of interested in having this Lava Coil in the main. It's possible that's wrong, but let's try it out and see what happens. Just cutting a Growth Spiral because that's kind of a flex slot. It's possible Brazen Borrower is worse than Growth Spiral. Hey DOG19, I am in the United States, having a late night stream here. And this hand is, well, there's the Lava Coil. Unfortunately, no red mana. This is one problem with the deck, is you kind of play a lot of basics for Beanstalk Giant. So this is like turn 2 Brazen Borrower or something, turn 3 Innkeeper, can't even cast Borrower yet. We have a Lava Coil, but no mana to cast it, and we have to like Temple for red mana, or our hands. I think a Mulligan's gonna be better than Sun Average. Yeah, well, this is definitely better. Gonna go ahead and throw back probably the. Is it just the Innkeeper here? So our hand goes now turn 2 Clover, turn 3 Beanstalk into double Borrow or something. There's also where if we're on, because we're on the draw, we could just consider keeping Innkeeper and throwing back a land. I'm pretty happy throwing back Innkeeper though. I don't know if it's gonna get much value early here, and okay, another Breeding Pool is about the worst draw in the deck for us there, but whatever. Priest early, that's okay. Priest certainly doesn't get a lot of value against this hand, and we can bounce it pretty freely. Let's just hope they don't have Empress Shieldbreaker or Beat Devil. If they do, things get harder. Midnight Reaper would be ideal. Why don't you just play a Midnight Reaper or a Mayhem Devil here? Nope. Oh, that's really bad. Okay. Well, that's the way the news goes. Double Priest. Fine, whatever. Temple of Mystery. Would love to stop drawing blue-green lands at some point and like spells, but let's just grab a mountain for now. So Priest, obviously another card that makes Borrow worse. Yeah, the version that plays Priest and Witch's Oven is just like the, I think the phrase is the not low for us. It's just the thing we least want to see at any point. Mayhem Devil's down, so the Priests now deal kind of terrifying amounts of damage, but the fact they're tapping them is nice. Forest is pretty bad, so order of operations here, we want to Beanstalk Giant first. Probably grab just our second mountain. Play Temple of Mystery, scrying for Fae of Wishes or Escape the Wilds, basically the options here of things we might want. And going to go ahead and borrow the Devil before they can untap the Priests. Go away. But hard to see how we get out of this one. The Double Priest means that we need both a Clover and a Bone Crusher to take them out. Legion War Boss, also pretty good with Priest of the Forgotten Gods, and a good card against us in general. Yeah, when you have no Bone Crusher Giants and Mulligan, this is a hard matchup. Giving a Priest untapped, seems pretty smart. And Lava Coil is a little late, I would say. So I can use it to take out the Legion War Boss. That's the biggest damage source and the card that's kind of harassing us to death now. And then I'm stuck on casting Beanstalk Giants and whatnot for a while, and 7/7 is not great against all the Priests. I think my odds of winning this are low enough that on stream I'm just going to scoop it up. If I think if we're on Mythic Ladder, I'd push a little harder. Obviously in a tournament, I'd push much harder, but I'm okay saying that one seems like it's our loss. All right, so yeah, Priest of the Forgotten God and Witch's Oven together, really bad pairing for us to see. But with broken hands, we can still win those. Just kind of mediocre hands, games 1 and 3. And of course, it is problematic to make your deck function with a 2-mana artifact in a world where everyone's trying to kill a 1-mana artifact. Won't disagree with that. I just think the raw power of Temur Clover feels like it makes it worth it for me, although I am very curious to try out Luis Salvato's Sultai ramp deck from the Mythic Championship at some point. That also seems like a lot of fun. This hand is one I'll keep. Again, I've seen people play the Great Henge. I'm trying one copy. It feels really clumsy in hands like this. Like it's not going to come out and do anything anytime soon. But I guess it's not much worse than Escape the Wilds would be, because Bone Crusher Giant makes it cost 5. So happy enough against most decks to have the curve of Bone Crusher Giant into Beanstalk Giant plus the ability to cast Bone Crusher Giant. Looks like our opponent might be on Blue-Red Flash with that start. they're on blue-red flash, then we're probably going to win because our deck is incredible against blue-red flash. It does look like blue-red flash, unless it could still be fires, I guess, with that opening. Let's see what happens. Just casting the Bone Crusher Giant. Yep, definitely looking flashy to me. Our Painful Mana base hurts a little bit in that, and Bone Crusher Giant's not a card that we can, like, trivially take care of. Huh. There is a world where I just want to cast Bone Crusher Giant now to block, but I don't think we quite live in that world. Nice thing about casting the Bone Crusher Giant to block is that if they don't attack, we can just Great Henge them next turn. But they'll have a counter for that anyway, so actual correct play here is probably just get mana into play while you can. Drawing like multiple pain lands here, not ideal either, as far as things that are ideal go. So I think this matchup is incredible, but if you have the wrong hand, of course, it's possible to lose. The deck is still powerful. I have not lost a match against this deck ever playing on Mythic Ladder in something like 12 matches. Oh, it's fires anyway. Okay. Huh. Well, that only changes things in the sense that I'm much more scared of what they're going to do to me next. Yep. So clearly just going to Bone Crusher Giant the Tef and try to keep it off of being able to bounce my Great Henge for free. The fact they didn't have a fires there was really nice. And maybe we get to play Great Henge next turn, although Great Henge still doesn't have anything really good to do, because we've just only drawn lands. I think it's been, yeah, we've only drawn lands in a Growth Spiral so far in the first like 4 or 5 turns of the game, which is pretty bad. But also getting aggressive with Bone Crusher Giant, which seems right. They're probably going to play a horse now, or fires into a horse. Yeah, I don't see how we're getting out of this one at this point. We just needed to draw a spell at some point in the last few turns. Matchup's reasonable against fires, but we yeah, do need to draw some spells to win it usually. Okay, so it's a little tricky thinking what to sideboard out in this matchup. Edgewell Innkeeper is actually pretty bad. It tends to just be Bone Crusher Giant bait. And just dies to Clarion, has a hard time actually drawing any cards before they cast one of their super effects. One nice thing about it is it helps stop Teferi from pressuring us too hard, but it's usually just by far the worst card. Bone Crusher Giant's also kind of bad, but at least has the virtue of helping us race them and killing Sphinx when we have a Clover out, which is pretty relevant. Possible that all the Innkeepers being taken out's a little stark, but usually pretty happy to make this clean switch into counterspells. I think I'm about 60-65% of Fires matches won at this point with the deck, which accounting for people maybe having iffy builds of the deck or playing it incorrectly in some spots probably means the matchup's a little below 50% against good players. This hand looks pretty solid to me. We get to negate a fires and have a Lovestruck Beast out before that, which is pretty good. Pretty into just playing the Temple of Epiphany out. How we need to play it in one of the first 3 turns here. Brazen Borrower. Right now, this is just a singleton bounce spell, which doesn't seem that good. Would really love a Lucky Clover or a Bone Crusher Giant here. I think this is worse than our draw. The problem with Lovestruck Beast in this matchup, of course, is that Bone Crusher Giant and Teferi pretty easily turn it off attacking. The good thing is that it blocks Cavalier of Flame, which, given that we're the control deck and mostly trying to survive, is actually a really good thing to have access to. So yeah, this turn we're just going to go ahead and... There's a world where I don't actually Lovestruck Beast, and I wait till turn 4 to do that, just so I'm not giving them a free Bone Crusher target next turn. In fact, I think we might be living in that world. In which case, I should have played Stomping Ground this turn. But, live and learn, I think. So I'm just going to wait. I'm under no pressure. I get to counter their pressure. They're going to go ahead and maybe not even have had a Bone Crusher Giant, in which case, joke's on me. But now I'm just going to go ahead and... So the problem is they could cast Teferi here, which really makes me want to hold up Negate again. So of course, if I negate Teferi, that means I'm not going to be negating the fires that comes after the Teferi. So all considerations considered, I'm going to go ahead and just Beanstalk Giant this turn. Grab a So second island's nice for casting Brazen Borrower. Second Force is good for actually using Lovestruck Beast this turn. If they get the Force to Lovestruck Beast, I think if they do have a Teferi next turn, I at least do want it to be down-ticking rather than upticking. Yep, okay. So at least this hopefully stops it from upticking to 5 and being really hard to get rid of. Lovestruck Beast not looking super useful right now, but yeah. Having Mystical Dispute feels a lot better in this matchup. Then Negate, that's one of the reasons I used to play 3 on the board, and I didn't used to have the Disdainful Stroke. It's possible at 3, and then 1 Disdainful Stroke or Negate's a better count. I'm going to go ahead and escape to the wilds this turn. Okay, got a really good assortment of cards, actually, so I'm pretty happy about that part. The Escape to the Wilds plus Fae of Wishes is a little awkward. Like, we're not going to get to do all the things I want to do next turn. Oh, they don't have fires this turn, though, which is incredible news for us. Okay, so that's going to let me go ahead and Lucky Clover. So we're just going to Lucky Clover. And then we have the option of either escaping to the wilds or double Fae of Wishing. I'm going to double Fae of Wishes. There's a pretty good chance they have a counterspell with the way they played so far. I find the decks often bring in Mystical Dispute against us. Lo and behold, glad we didn't try to go for the Escape to the Wilds. And so now, the question is, what do we usually get here? So it did not look like they had a Fires, unless their hand just played out really awkwardly. However, if they really don't have a Fires, their odds of actually beating this hand the way it is are really low. I'm pretty happy just getting Return to Nature anyway as insurance against a Fires. Just having one of those is really nice. Teferi remains annoying, but should have enough resources just in terms of big creatures that if they don't have a Fires, we can kind of stop their horses until the cows come home. That's a Fires, all right. Let's hope they don't have a second one. Sad that we lost the Brazen Borrower there. Brazen Borrower would have been incredible. There's a third Escape to Wilds, which is nice. And we're not going to use that right now because we need to kill this Fires and do some other things with our life, but yeah, plan here is going to be go ahead and Fae of Wishes. Gonna grab, so I want something that can kill a horse, which I think means I want to grab Chandra here. Yeah, not being able to kill horses cheaply is tough. I can also get back a Fae of Wishes with Pulse of Marasa, which is kind of fun value. Gain some life. But might actually be Pulse of Marasa. It might be that I'm not trying to actually kill this horse, I'm just trying to bounce it until our opponent can't do anything anymore. In which case, Pulse of Marasa is a really good card for that purpose. Yeah, I'll grab Pulse. And what the other card I grab is going to be will be... I'll take... I think I take Chandra to control the game after the fact. Is that true? Actually, let me just grab... Yeah, I'll grab... Actually, I'll just take... I don't even know. Oops, that was not my... So I clicked on the wrong card there. Oops. Meant to take a Lava Coil there, but I guess it's not the worst thing to have something kill a horse and draw a bunch of cards in the future. For now, I think it's worth paying the 2 life to be able to have Fae of Wishes out this turn. Not sure I'm going to block with it necessarily yet, but at the very least it is around now and lets us use our mana more efficiently in future turns rather than waiting to cast it. So if we do draw land, we get to just explode the Cavalier. Maybe. Opponent does not have double red at the moment, or triple red for a Flame Cavalier. They're just going to hit us, and we're just going to take it here. Okay, being able to attack Teferi with this Fae, maybe block and bounce back to our hand at some point. It just has possible value later in the game. And just a Sphinx of Foresight, so now I really wish I'd gotten that Lava Coil that I've been thinking of clicking on. But I can also just kill the Sphinx unless they have Mystical Dispute, in which case we get blown out of the water. Interesting. So yeah, I think this turn I want to Pulse of Marasa, grab Lava Coil off my other Fae of Wishes. That seems fine, yeah. So just go ahead. So our opponent does not have a lot going on. They don't even seem to have a Cavalier Flame because they played a Mountain last turn. It does look like they have a counterspell of some kind, but they're not using it yet, which is interesting. Alright, well, they have Wishes. So maybe this Lava Coil is about to get countered. That would be a little sad for sure. But I am going to grab it. And then the question is, what else to grab? Have enough mana at this point that Chandra looks pretty practical. Flamewine Celebration's great at gaining life and getting back Fae of Wishes also. But it's a little slow for sure. Let me grab Chandra. The question is, do I try Lava Coiling or just play a Fae? Try Lava Coiling. I think if we, even if they do counter this, they can only deal 9 to us with these creatures, and they did not counter it. Cool. So my question is, do I attack to Fairy? Answer is yes. I'm not going to block with the Fae this turn if I didn't last turn. Clearly holding a Bone Crusher Giant at this point, just wondering what to do with it. Yep. Okay. Cool. So Innkeeper not being Bone Crusher bait's nice. They didn't get a lot of value there. We're far from out of the woods, of course. If they have a Fire's Invention to Cavalier Flame at any point, we are going to take a lot of damage. But if they give up Tef here, they did not. That would have been good. Finish my sentence. That would have been good if they'd done that. Okay. So I guess this turn is, at this point, is their hand is full of cards like Deafening Clarion, which is pretty exciting. Being able to sort of turn those off is also a good side effect of what we're doing now. So I have enough mana to go Chandra plus Lovestruck Beast to block Bone Crusher, and that's absolutely what I'm going to do here. Just can't be countered, can't be stopped. One downside of doing this is that we get hit by another Bone Crusher Giant, but it's fine. I just want this horse out of here. And Exile is just fantastic value as well. Play this one from the Exile Zone, and then I can turn on Lovestruck Beast next turn to start attacking Tef with it, which is pretty exciting. I'm still at a comfortable enough life total that I'm okay attacking Teferi with this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say no attacks here. I don't want them to be able to eat Chandra for free if they bounce Lovestruck Beast. I would be open to using Fae Wishes to block to save Chandra. Okay. So, almost certainly have Deafening Clarion, which means that making tokens with these beasts is not going to be super effective for me. Ooh, or they're just going to desperately bounce Fae Wishes in order to kill Chandra, which would be great news. That looks like what they're doing. Cool. Don't mind seeing that at all. And we're starting to build up to enough mana, so we have 9 mana right now. We need 11 mana to cast Beanstalk Giant, Fling, and Explosion. So getting Fling is going to be a priority here in the near future, I think. In fact, why don't I just, let's see. It'd be nice if I could kill Teferi efficiently, but I haven't drawn a Bone Crusher Giant yet this game, so I can't. I'm always interested in casting Escape the Wilds, but probably not doing that yet. Okay, then, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and Fae of Wishes, granted. Fetching Fling for the instant kill in a little bit. And what's in the graveyard right now? Once in the future, can get back random cards that I want. I can get back Lava Coil and Pulse of Marasa, which is kind of cool. So yeah, why don't I just grab Once in Future here? And then I'm just going to go ahead and play this out tapped. Lovestruck Beast. So making some tokens here either forces him to cast Deafening Clarion right now or lose Teferi, which is really nice. Question is what I do with the rest of my mana here. Don't think I want to Once in Future. I think I'm happy just to cast 2 Fae of Wishes, because this also lets me kill Teferi through a Deafening Clarion. Opponent doesn't know that I don't have another land in my hand. Maybe I missed a land drop at some point, I'm not sure, but either way, they can't be feeling too confident right now about not dying if they tap out, or cast a Fire's Invention for that matter. I think that at this point, even if they do cast Fire's Invention and have a Cavalier, Cards in my hand should let me hold out long enough to be able to clean up the game, especially since I can once in future for a Return to Nature to take out the fires if that comes down. Okay, fire's in. And who else? Kenrith would be annoying. Hoping it's not Kenrith. This Cavalier Flame is not really a threat. This just gets jump blocked by 2 tokens. What do they discard over here? Oh, interesting. They never had a Clarion after all. Just have some lands. Cavalier coming in hot, but it doesn't matter at all because there's no trample. Kenrith is very scary because it stops us from making plays like this one. But this alone does not matter. So, are they just dead? No, we are 1 mana short of killing them here because we don't have an expansion. Fling would deal them 10. So I think the play here is going to be killing Teferi for sure. And then we once in future get back a Return to Nature. Kill the fires. As well as a Pulse of Marasa for life gain. I suppose it doesn't matter too much here. Yeah, actually Pulse of Marasa seems pretty great. So pay Adamant. He's back. And we'll do all of our other stuff before we do the Return to Nature. I guess there's a world where, do we die to Kenrith if we kill the fires here? They would have to go Kenrith double pump, or no, single pump use Kenrith's ability. We would be at, they'd have 18 power of trample. We would have just enough toughness to live through that. That's actually kind of great. Problem is we still wouldn't be able to kill them next turn, huh? Maybe the right play is Return to Nature and then cast Lovestruck Beast, actually adding 5 toughness, which still keeps us alive through the things I was thinking about. But we tapped out a green, because I used Breeding Pool there automatically. Do something. Huh. Definitely a puzzle. So I can't actually cast Lovestruck Beast. Oh, I can't cast Pulse of Marasa and Return to Nature. That's actually hugely limiting. So new plan is going to be that I do this. And I just really hope they don't have a Kenrith, or I'm going to feel very silly. I'm not sure we are beating a Kenrith there, but I'm going to feel really silly if they do have one. So we're just going to get Forests. Yeah, talking to chat, certainly not helping this here, though I do love you all, of course. Thanks for hanging out today. Maybe I just play Lovestruck Beast here instead of the Return at this point. What's the scariest thing I could do with the fires? Don't know, don't care. I'm just going to kill this. Goodbye. And I guess it's nice that I have Fling for 1 open. Expansion might be kind of helpful. If they do something tricky with like a... I don't know what they could do that's tricky, but I do have Expansion for a spell if they deign to cast one. Yeah, that last turn was butchery. I'm sorry y'all had to see it. The Many Wishes turns can get very tricky when you're trying to be defensive and offensive at the same time. Sphinx of Foresight comes down. Okay. That's not going to give our opponent nearly enough damage. Are they just going all out with Cavalier here? All right, opponent seems to just be going all out with Cavalier, which is great. So, unless they have a negate, we win. If we draw a land, I think we win anyway. I haven't quite counted that. They have Wishes again. Okay, well. Here goes... Huh. So if they have negate, we die. Because I don't have enough mana to go Beanstalk Giant plus Fling plus Expansion plus do something else this turn. Possible I just want to cast Beanstalk Giant and then just hold up a bunch of stuff, the counter stuff. That actually sounds much safer now that I think about it. So let's just do that. Let's play Beanstalk Giant. Leave our opponent with just nothing to do. We could pull some Marasa and get back nothing because we have no creatures at the moment. Play Lovestruck Beast as well and have negate open. So if I do that, Could they kill me with Kenrith? No, because Sphinx of Foresight's not going to get through Fae of Wishes that hard. Actually, they would kill me with Kenrith, huh? No, I could fling at something after blocks. Does that work? I don't know if that works. I don't really care if that works. I'm just going to play Love Struck Beast. Pass the turn here. No attacks. I guess the other question is, if you have enough lands in the graveyard to kill me, they don't. They only have 2 lands in the graveyard at the moment. So for them to kill me through this negate is going to require something pretty special. Oh, and the fact they're Vantressing here definitely means they can't win with Kenrith. Yeah, they should probably be dead by now. Guessing I had a line to kill them by now. Haven't found it. Timing, I'm doing fine. I've used twice as much time as them, so I'm sorry, Wakasama. Alright, got anything interesting? No. Okay, so they didn't. It looks like they didn't have a negate there. So it's possible that playing around that was wrong and I should have been keeping more careful track of what I thought was in their hand. Definitely possible. Alright, well, now we just have to win on the draw. Yeah, no problem, right? Teferi might just be good enough on the play that I should be playing Innkeepers here instead of some of these counters. Or maybe instead of some number of Bone Crushers. I don't think we saw a Deafening Clarion in that game, which doesn't mean they're not playing them. We saw a bunch of their other spells that we knew they were going to have anyway that game. And they're definitely still playing Bone Crusher Giant. So I think I remain pretty uninterested in Keeper. We have 3 counters that can stop the Fairy. Also 4 Fae of Wishes is way too much if we're not playing Innkeepers, because you generally only need 1 of them during the game. In contrast to what we saw there. Okay, well, wow, bunch of counters, a Lucky Clover, not enough colors of mana, but the fact that I can stop Tef and stop Gnarly Fires just seems really good. And we have a Scryland. I'm going to try keeping it. It's a pretty bad hand in a vacuum, but I think it's the kind of hand that we use to win on the draw when we're on the draw. If that makes sense. Like from here, with the Lucky Clover, we really just need to find like the 1 Beanstalk Giant, and then our deck is just outperforming theirs wildly if they can't keep a Fires in play. Alright, red source is great. That means this temple can just go ahead and scry anything else to the bottom. Any land to the bottom. Escape to Wilds is exactly what I want to see. I'm going to keep that for sure. Something to catch us up once we've disrupted them a little bit. I'm going to take some damage to hold up Bone Crusher Giant. They're going to be disappointed. I'm just going to play Stomping Grounds tapped. And be ready to stop it to Fairy. We can't stop a Bone Crusher Giant either way if they're going to cast one, so you can go ahead and cast one if you want to opponent. Alright, well that hurts. So if they do play that, that starts to put us on a little bit of a clock. Interesting. So we love a Love Struck Beast right now. That's another good thing Love Struck Beast does in this matchup. So now I have to question like whether I want to hold up Disdainful Stroke to stop fires or whether it's just worth getting Clover down now. Interesting. I think because I can stop Sphinx with Mystical Suit and still hold Disdainful Stroke for a Fires or a Horse, I'm going to go ahead and just Breeding Pool this turn, and then I can Lucky Clover next turn plus hold up Disdainful Stroke. The thing that's really going to murder me right now is if they counter my Mystical Dispute. So no Fires for you. You counter Sphinx cheaply next turn with Mystical Dispute or Cavalier of Gales. Brazen Borrower looking pretty good here, actually. That means if they go ahead and play a big Cavalier or a Sphinx, I can just double Brazen Borrow those things and take a bunch of damage in the process, but at the very least be kind of stabilized. So a huge priority now is finding a Fae of Wishes so I can wish for some life gain, or a Bone Crusher Giant, so a Love Struck Beast so I can just block this Bone Crusher Giant. Escape the Wilds hopefully lets me find one of those things. They shouldn't be dealing damage to me in any other way. The worst case scenario here is this is Cavalier Flames. Cavalier of Gales is excellent. Gonna certainly just dispute that, because better to borrow a Sphinx that doesn't draw them cards when it comes into play. Beanstalk Giant is really good, huh? That makes me puzzle whether it's correct to Beanstalk or Escape here. almost certainly correct us to Beanstalk. Means that our escape next turn is just supercharged, turbocharged, whatever you want to say. And while we are going to go to 4 after bouncing this Bone Crusher Giant here, which is scary, there's not much we could have done about it at any point here. I have to hope to find a Fae and stabilize off of that. Cavalier Flame comes in, okay. That one is fine. That one gets bounced pretty cheaply. It is a big hasty threat, which is of course scary, but right now the thing that scares me most by far is the notion of getting... There's a world where I don't want to use this to bounce yet, but I think it's important to get the mana out of the way here. So another Bone Crusher Giant also just kills us, of course. You kept a good hand that stopped a lot of things, but we couldn't keep a hand that stopped everything. Okay, so now we just escape. Hopefully draw some stuff that's a little better than lands. Mystical Dispute. Ooh, well, double Bone Crusher Giant is definitely excellent. And they can, of course, play around Mystical Dispute, but I'm definitely just going to make them play around Mystical Dispute here. Actually, yes, we go. We should have 1 island left in the deck, but we only have 2 in play. We definitely have an island left in the deck. So here my play is going to be Beanstalk Giant. Grabbing Forest, grabbing Island. Using Lovestruck Beast to make some blockers. And holding up Mystical Dispute so we can stop a Sphinx. No guarantee this works. If they have another land, they can just cast the Sphinx. And then we have to find a way to stop it almost immediately or we die. But this is still a reasonable situation. We have a lot of draws here that are quite strong. Like a Fae of Wishes at any point probably wins the game. Probably wins the game. No guarantee. Cards like Brazen Bar are excellent here because they stall the Sphinx. We're not that far away from being able to maybe attack them to death with Beanstalk Giants. But it's certainly a tense situation. We're not favored. We're definitely not favored. If we draw Fae of Wishes next turn, we sort of become favored. Another thing we have to watch out for is definitely clearing all our blockers at any moment, which means we'll want to have a Lovestruck Beast in play next turn. Mystical Dispute inconveniently is also going to vanish next turn. Okay, I have been Bone Crushed. And opponents cast Legion Warboss. Okay, that's not as bad as a Bone Crusher Giant would have been, certainly. Alright, so this Mystical Dispute's going to vanish. We just need to put a bunch of stuff on the board this turn. We Steam Vent Stepped. Love that it's giving me the option to pay 2 life there. That's really, really tempting. We have 11 mana, so looks to me like it's just going to be Beanstalk. Plus Lovestruck Beast. Plus Lovestruck Beast. There's a world where I want to cast Lovestruck, or no, I don't think there's a world where I want to cast Borrower this turn. Borrower is going to block Sphinx. I would love to cast it at instant speed, so sorcery speed removal doesn't matter. The opponent's never getting through on the ground. That part's great. I just need to be able to stop the Sphinx long enough to kill them with Beanstalk Giant. And make sure they don't draw another Bone Crusher Giant, or anything else that kills me on the spot, as many cards do. We can even chump block the Cavalier for a while thanks to the power of these tokens, so it's not going to just die on us, which is great too. The part where they get to cast it and discard some cards to dig for Bone Crusher Giants, not my favorite part. We really need a Fae of Wishes here. Actually, Fae of Wishes just wins on the spot by fetching Fleeing Explosion at this point, so if I can get a Fae of Wishes before they get something that kills me, that would be great. Don't know what my odds are here. I suppose that Cavalier Flame, unless I get Brazen Borrower, stops me from attacking with Beanstalk Giant. The good news is that Brazen Borrower also wins the game on the spot. So we have a bunch of win the game draws, and we've sucked a lot of lands out of the deck. Great Henge. You know, that's not quite a win the game on the spot draw, but it's really, really good. Really, really, really good. Thank you, Great Henge. You know, I appreciate you. Let's start casting big boys. Opponent has 4 lands in the graveyard, so we can't get comfortable attacking a Cavalier Flame just yet. But hey, that's a Fae of Wishes, so that should win the game, I think. All right, well, everything went better than expected. So again, trying to think about if we can play around a counterspell in some way. If it's worth it just to get Fling and then get some life gain so we can just attack them to death in successive turns. So we certainly want Fling. And then is the other grab expansion, or is it like Pulse of Marasa? Because Pulse of Marasa lets me just get back Fae of Wishes, cast Fae of Wishes, attack with a bunch of stuff next turn. How big is this Beanstalk Giant? It's a 12-12? It's a 12-12. It's going to be a 13-13. So I am actually super close to attacking the opponent to death here. Oh, no, wait, I do attack the opponent to death? Oh, I do attack the opponent to death here. Okay, I was overthinking this, because this Beanstalk Giant is going to be a 13-13. So I just get expansion. Sorry, opponent, that took a while again, because again, I'm just in a place of utter confusion. So we just attack with everybody. And then if the Cavalier blocks Beanstalk Giant, in response to the Cavalier's ability, I fling the Beanstalk Giant and expansion the fling. So this works. This works unless they have another Bone Crusher Giant, and if they had another Bone Crusher Giant, we were dead anyway. Here I come. Maybe I'm horribly miscalculating something, but I think this works. Just got to respond to the Cavalier's ability with a fling. So full control, just to make sure nothing weird happens. Fling is definitely an instant speed card. And if they counter it, we can expansion it to copy the spell and make another copy. Okay, whew. That was tight. Hi, everybody. So I was not looking at chat at all during that, of course, because that was a heck of a sequence. Ford Galaxy, I was hoping the deck would work, because I think I have a Stream Decker linked at this point, but yeah, the Scryfall list is correct. Thank you, son of a lich. Okay, that was way too close. Patrick LJ, I feel you on auto-tapper stuff. Auto-tapper, just getting colored sources generally is really a tricky thing with this deck, and I'm glad you're having fun. And glad it seems like your record's been good so far. Green Black Adventure is also a really sweet deck. Definitely something that I would play if they happen to, I don't know, they banned Fae of Wishes for some reason. I think Green Black Adventures is the next place I'd look to play. And again, hi everybody. I have not been super communicative with the chat just because these games have been tense. That is often the case with these lists. Oh, it's Preddy. I definitely recognize Preddy's name. They are the ladder grinder they were in the top 10 when I played them on my YouTube video and beat them. And I've seen them playing other streamers and stuff. They're clearly very good. First hand was obviously unkeepable. This one looks pretty alright. Not super powerful, but can't be too picky. I'm going to throw back the Islander Breeding Pool here. What are the odds I'm going to need this green mana? I think I'm going to probably play Breeding Pool for free on turn 2, since the first 2 turns are likely to be Lovestruck Beast plus... Actually, no, I throw back the Forest here, I think. I think it's worth being able to cast Brazen Bar for sure, more than it is saving the 2 life. Hard to say. Someone also molds. Let's see what Preddy's on. They were on Blue-Green Flash before. And that's an excellent matchup that I'm very happy to see. Suspicion is they're probably on something else. That does not look like Blue-Green Flash. Uh-oh. Alright, so... Gonna Innkeeper. Odds that Innkeeper just dies immediately to a Bone Crusher Giant. Not low, but right now my plan is just to cast Fae of Wishes on turn 2 anyway. Yep, this is Fires. Okay, let's go. Alright, so second Fae of Wishes makes this play even easier. I'm certainly just going to cast it. Draw a card while we can. Have a thing that lives through Deafening Clarion. Have a thing that can attack the fairies down. Alright, well, if we don't get Clarion or Bone Crusher next turn, second Innkeeper into Fae of Wishes is just going to draw a lot of cards and might just let us kind of keep up with Fire's value without needing to do anything fancy. Does not seem like Innkeeper's living, but Escape to the Wilds. Alright, so Escape to the Wilds means that the priority right now is just drawing more cards. The way that I draw cards is by playing Edgewell Innkeepers and then playing Adventure Creatures. So let's do it. We need to find some more lands before our opponent goes too crazy with Fires. That's a land, which is helpful. We're also starting to get some good chip damage in, which is not meaningless against this deck. Like being able to kill them with just Fling instead of Fling plus expansion, or making them like feel threatened by Lovestruck Beast attacks is really good. Ooh, they had to use a Clarion there, which is really good news too. And they don't have Fires, because otherwise they're just Fires Clarion. So that means we get to get pretty aggressive with this Lovestruck Beast. Lots of fun there. And then hopefully if they're still on the back foot when we cast Escape to the Wilds, this should be a really simple game. Escape to the Wilds is just a ton of resources of varying types. But of course, Fires is Fires. Fires can come out of nowhere and just crush you. So I'm not going to get too confident yet. Naked Cavalier Flame. Sure. You know what that one gets hit by? It gets hit by Brazen Borrower. The question is, do I want to hit it with Brazen Borrower? Because if I escape to the wilds, there's a good chance I hit a Clover and can just double Brazen Borrower next turn. On the other hand, Brazen Borrower hits them for 8 damage, and then I get to cast it. And I like all of those things. So why don't we just, let's just do this. Go away. Take 8 damage. I have not seen any flying creatures from you so far, so this Brazen Borrower is an enormous threat to you. Yeah, it is not often that you get to just attack fires to death in like the normal way without doing anything fancy, but that is the power of Edgewell Innkeeper. And Lovestruck Beast, for that matter. Let's hope they're not the weird kind of fires that plays Time Wipe. Wouldn't want to see that. Nope. Alright, sorry, Preddy. We just had the good curve there, I guess. We were on the draw that game, too. That was something. Cool. Well, we know that Preddy is keeping Deafening Clarion in their deck. Games like that also make me question whether sideboarding out Edgewell Innkeeper is right, of course. The Edgewell Innkeeper definitely did some good stuff there. And even in games where you're pretty sure it's going to get killed early, it can still draw cards late, which is not bad. Not a bad thing. Possible some number of Lovestruck Beast might be correct to cut instead. Yeah. I don't know if anybody has thoughts about this. Hey, son of a lich, quick question on quick answer on Questing Beast. As far as flex slots go, the problem with Questing Beast is that it's a card you kind of want to draw consistently. I think it's not like a huge late game game swinging card the way that like Escape to the Wilds and Great Henge are. It's just a 4/4 that attacks kind of decently. It's good against fires, of course, but I think unless you're playing like 2 or 3 copies, and maybe that's a thing you could do. I think just playing like 1 copy means it's not going to show up enough to be like super relevant to thinking about how it fits in the deck. And because you can't wish for it, it's not a good one for that purpose. So anyway, we definitely want counters against this deck. We definitely want all of our counters. It's possible we don't actually want Negate, but because it stops fires, that does seem pretty good. And the other card we'd be cutting if you weren't cutting Innkeeper would probably be Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher stopping Sphinx is nice, but it's not super essential since Fae can just wish for something else. Bone Crusher also just dies to Clarion, the same way that Innkeeper does, but much more expensively. Now let's try the variant where we side out the Bone Crushers, and maybe we're going to regret this horribly, and it's a terrible idea. I don't know. I like trying both things just to see how it feels. Like, Innkeepers felt great in that last game. Absolutely great, but of course it was kind of an unusual game. So we're just going to try different things here. It's not Mythic Ladder yet. There's not too much risk. We can just kind of play around. All right, this hand is frankly pretty weak, but it's one of those hands that kind of, there's not a lot going on, but a lot of different cards we could draw would make it very good. Like if we draw a Lucky Clover, of course, the hand's astonishingly good. If we draw Escape to the Wilds, we can cast that on turn 4 and then have some good backup for it. Like, hand's definitely slow. Edgewell Innkeeper also looks pretty good in this hand, because Edgewell Innkeeper into Fae Wishes is nice. So Preddy is definitely running a version with Sphinxes instead of like Fae Wishes or something. That's one thing in consideration of keeping the Bone Crushers in. Preddy also kept a 5-card hand, which I guess means that going slowly is not going to be too much of a punishment. Ooh, Growth Spiral is a fantastic draw there. Yeah, being able to get to Growth Spiral in spots like this is one of the reasons we played in the deck, is just catching you up with these kind of slowish hands in the draw is super valuable. That's an Edgewell Innkeeper too. So now I just get to go Growth Spiral, straight out into Forest, and then the question is, do I cast Edgewell Innkeeper or do I just oop the Lovestruck Beast? So what's my next turn going to be? It's going to be Beanstalk Giant into something else. I could also just have my next turn be Edgewell Innkeeper into Lovestruck Beast. Let's just do this. Yeah, Briblick, I agree. Bone Crusher doesn't really line up with much of anything. It's yeah, it lines up with Sphinx particularly when you have Lucky Clover out, but that's just like a lot of different things happening at the same time that have to go right. So here we have double Beanstalk Giant. I'd really like to draw a land so I can just go Beanstalk into Beanstalk next turn. The parts where you draw Growth Spiral instead of a land, of course, feel terrible, so now Growth Spiral looks really bad. Alright, so opponent does have Fires and Sphinx. They kind of got everything going here from their kind of weak start. Which, I mean, no shame in that. Like, the deck mulliganed to 5, but the deck mulligans really well, which is one of the things that's good about it. So I'm going to start by just attacking Teferi with Lovestruck Beast here. And see where we go from there. That part is clear. So the only thing that might change that is if I want to bounce Sphinx of Foresight with Brazen Borrower for sure this turn, then if that's the case, I would want to attack now. In fact, how likely is it that that's the case? So I'm going to Beanstalk Giant. I could either Beanstalk and a Beanstalk and not bounce Sphinx, or I could Beanstalk, bounce Sphinx, and cast Growth Spiral. Does that work? No, I only have 6 mana. Huh. So let's Beanstalk first. This part is guaranteed. I definitely want to Beanstalk. The question is, what do I do after that? So next turn I'm going to Fae of Wishes. I can Fae of Wishes for Lava Coil, just kill Sphinx. Yeah, let's just get as much mana as I can get this turn, I think. This could be really bad, I guess, if they have specifically Cavalier, because it adds up a ton of extra damage. And now that I'm thinking about it, well, I guess if they do have Cavalier, they can just Cavalier into Sphinx with the fires in play anyway? An Innkeeper chump blocking Cavalier is something I'm perfectly comfortable doing in this situation. And the Sphinx Scry is going to be super valuable to them now as well. But I think I am actually into the play of just bouncing the Sphinx instead of Beanstalk. It's really tough. Anyone have thoughts in the chat? Let's see. Yeah, so which I agree. Second Growth Spiral, I mean, Growth Spirals are excellent when they're excellent and bad when they're not good. They're much better in your opening hand than Great Henge, which is a consideration. But they're not. It's not the most powerful card. You're definitely right about that. So, what to bounce? So I can bounce Sphinx. I can bounce Fires, which at least stops them from getting a Cavalier Hasty this turn. I think I do want to make a bounce. There's no Lucky Clover in sight. There's no guarantee that I'm even going to find one here. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce the Sphinx, stop them from getting the Scry, which is really valuable to them with only 2 cards, I would guess. And if they have like land into Sphinx plus Cavalier, so be it. But I'm hoping they're missing on like one of the key things, whether it's a land or a horse this turn. If that's the case, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. Okay, that's the land. That's the Sphinx, and that's the Kenrith. Oh dear. So Kenrith is like a horse, but much worse. Kenrith is very powerful. Going to draw them a bunch of cards. We can't even chump block anything. So this is extremely bad news. Kenrith against us is terrifying, and like is one of the cards that by itself makes me think about playing Fry in the sideboard, just because being able to like get a Fry for Kenrith here would be incredibly valuable. Unfortunately, Disdainful Stroke is a little late. So it's looking like the play is going to be, man, I really want to hold up Disdainful Stroke, but I don't think I can afford to. I think I need to Lava Coil the Sphinx now and just hope that Kenrith doesn't get them anything super good for next turn. That Disdainful Stroke can protect me later, but it's looking pretty bad at this point. So Lovestruck Beast blocking Kenrith is good news. Kenrith drawing an extra card every turn is terrible news. And Growth and Disdainful Stroke alone is not going to hold him off for long. And there's no thought of me even attacking there at all. Just need to stop Kenrith from killing us. Yep, so double mulligan from Fires, but when the curve is just Tef into Fire Sphinx into Kenrith, it's enough anyway. And this deck is very, very good and consistent. So not begrudging them that draw at all. That's what the deck is built to do, and that's what it did. Yep, Tef turning off expansion combo, definitely not much fun. I will say that for sure. Second Fires, alright. Sphinx of Foresight again. No horses, that's something. And Kenrith is not going to be drawing cards here. Me taking 4 is pretty bad. Me being incapable of stopping a Sphinx is pretty bad, but we're not dead yet. So this turn is looking like second Innkeeper for sure. And I just want to start drawing a bunch of cards and seeing if I can find like another borrower to answer the Sphinx maybe. Actually, what I can do here is Fae of Wishes. Hold up Disdainful Stroke in case they draw something scary. And then if they don't draw anything scary, I get to play Borrower and take out the Sphinx with combat damage thanks to Borrower and Fae, which is really nice. And draw 2 cards in the process. So, gonna try that one, I think. And then next turn we can escape and try to maybe do something from there. So against Kenneth drawing several cards a turn and the Sphinx scrying, like many different things, don't look good for us. But they bottomed, which is a start, a promising start. They're Vantressing, which is pretty promising, because it means Kenrith's not drawing extra cards, which is an interesting choice. I guess it makes more sense to do the Vantress thing. We can chump Sphinx at the very least. What are they going to try for? Another Sphinx. Do I stroke that, or do I just play Borrower this turn and draw 2 cards? How much does the second Sphinx matter? I don't actually think the second Sphinx matters that much. I don't think that's the one that's going to kill me. The Sphinxes get haste and trample. Sure, that means I just kill one of them with Borrower. Thinking if we'd countered there, the Sphinx getting to attack anyway made it kind of a moot point. So let's see if we can draw like a Clover plus Borrower or something like that. So Innkeeper's looking kind of bad here, or kind of actually Innkeeper's looking pretty great here compared to what Bone Crushers would have looked like, which is because we have a Clover, we have no Clover, Bone Crushers look terrible. One should probably kill Fae of Wishes, they get in more trample damage. Yep, very sensible. And so now this Sphinx is of course our priority, we need to get rid of it. Negate is really good as a backup counterspell for all sorts of things our opponent could try to do. But the Sphinx is the priority, so this turn is going to start with Escape to the Wilds. And we're going to need to find something like Borrower plus a land so we can stroke the Sphinx on the way back down is going to be the starting point here. Does seem to be the case. All right, so we escape to the Wilds. We can also Borrower during combat if we are in desperation mode there. Okay, interesting. So we found... We're definitely playing this land. Not sure if we want to play Breeding Pool untapped or tapped here. So we now get to do Breeding Pool untapped into Fae of Wishes if we want to, which takes us to 1, but lets us leave up both counters, which means we stop anything they could conceivably do this turn. Lets us take out the Sphinx. We still haven't found a Lucky Clover yet, which is kind of unreal. If we got a second Love Star piece down, we could start attacking, but that's gonna still a long way away. So Prom is going to 1 gets us killed by Bone Crusher, but we can counter Bone Crusher anyway. So I'm just gonna cast the Fae here. We have no choice, alas. We need to do this. Mystical Dispute's okay too. All right, well, there's the Lucky Clover. So Lucky Clover is going to be great if I can pull it off next turn. Gonna no attack here. We're probably dead. Opponent with the Sphinx and a Kenrith and me at 1 life has a lot of different ways to kill. But the fact that we can counter a couple of different kinds of things is super valuable. All right, what'd you find? What did you find? Bone Crusher Giant. Nope. No to that. Thanks. Kenrith's going to draw a card now in case they find Mystical Dispute. The fact that I've had to like throw these Fae Wishes away as blockers and they're stopping me from getting life gain is pretty bad, of course. Still don't think we're favored in this spot, but it's getting closer. If we can live through like 2 more turns, things get really good. That's a land. Okay. A lot of scrying they get to do here. But Sphinx has been held back. Opponent pauses on upkeep for some reason. Okay. So now what do I do? Start with Lucky Clover for sure, because we're going to Beanstalk Giant twice, so it's kind of mana neutral anyway. Stomping Ground should be tapped here probably. Let's just go Beanstalk. So we're going to hope that the counters that a Disdainful Stroke stops whatever they try to go for next turn, because most of the cards they would want to do get Disdainful Stroked. Good. So I'm just going to build up mana this turn. Possibly I should try using Escape to the Wilds to find like a Brazen Borrower or something like that. It's also possible that... Yeah, I think... Because I have all these Innkeepers, I'm pretty interested in getting mana over getting cards here. Escape to the Wilds having a really high chance of hitting another Borrower is nice. The problem is it going to hit another untapped land? And I don't know if it's going to. So I have Beanstalk Giant. I have enough mana to hold up Disdainful Stroke and hold up a double Borrower if I draw one after casting Lovestruck Beast, which I like a lot. Let's just do this, get the mana going. Crab Forest. Crab Forest. We're still trying to navigate our way to a Fae of Wishes kill. Certainly is non-trivial, but that's what we're trying to do. Cast our 5/5 draw 2. And kind of casually gaining life. might matter, certainly against the kill if we try to set one up. Drew 2 different painful lands, lots of fun there. At this point I can actually attack with a Lovestruck Beast, because we can counter a Cavalier of Flames and nothing else is going to make the ground defense matter. But it's nice that we at least get to whittle against Kenrith a little bit. But still don't feel great about the odds of surviving multiple turns of Kenrith being able to draw several cards. We do need to dodge a bunch of different things. Okay, opponent found something we need to dodge. What is it? Cavalier of Gales. All right, nope. No to that one. Can't have that one. So the thing about attack with Lovestruck Beast is it might get us killed by Cavalier Flames, or we wouldn't have been dead otherwise. Maybe that was the wrong play. Okay, so they let that one get countered rather than trying to draw cards or anything fancy. So we're probably dead to whatever this draw is. Cavalier Flame, yeah. So would that have killed anyway? Pretty sure that kills anyway, right? We have only 12 toughness here. An opponent's attacking for a lot more power than that with trample. So yeah, we're dead. So it goes. Almost got him there. There's a world where maybe if we manage to somehow hold a Fae of Wishes back and wish to gain 16 life, something changes, but the real problem is that Kenrith is just ridiculous against us. Just absurdly good against us. They don't play very many copies, which is a blessing, but Kenrith is absurd. Edgewell and Keepers did look quite a bit better than Bone Crusher Giants there, for whatever that's worth. Bone Crusher Giant is one of our few ways of killing Kenrith if we can get 2 Clovers in play, which isn't totally unrealistic. It happens a lot in the games where you kind of go off early, but still liked Innkeeper quite a bit in that game. So let's try it. Let's go back on the play here. So we did pretty well there, I'd say, for not having a Clover in play until like turn 10 or so. Normally we're supposed to have it in play on turn 2, and that sort of turbocharges what we're doing. So let's see if we can get there. Good night, son of a lich. Nice having you here. Boy, this has been one heck of a draining match so far. This is a tough opponent here. Okay, yeah, this hand's really, really good. We keep it. We do need to hit a 3rd land, but we really can't ask for much better than this kind of hand, minus having the 3rd land. And we do run 26. Patrick LJ, yep. So Patrick, our answers to Kenrith are basically, yeah, we don't really have any good ones. You have identified the problem here. It's by far the best card in their deck against us, unless we can counter it. Them not having a Fires in play makes Kenrith, of course, substantially worse. So the real answer to Kenrith is don't let them get Fires into play. Right now, the deck is not as good at that as I would like. And it's plausible that the version I was playing with 3 Mystical Dispute in the sideboard and 3 Return to Nature is just going to be better if Fires is going to keep being really popular. Having a big wish board is fun and does make some other matchups a little bit better, but it's totally possible that it just makes it's just better to focus hard on Fires, because it's one of the few matchups that our main deck can struggle with a lot. All right, 3rd land is outstandingly good. Opponent can't counter Lucky Clover here. So things are looking pretty good so far. Brazen Borrower also extremely good against early Fires he starts. Just need to find like 1 Escape to the Wilds or Great Henge or something like that, and we're going to be in great shape. 2nd Borrower is also great because it's essentially another Time Walk. It might by itself buy us enough time to start playing Beanstalk Giants out. Fairy can't bounce Clover without Edgewell Innkeeper being able to kill it, which is cool. Losing Edgewell Innkeeper would be mildly annoying, but not really so bad. Okay, so I assume this is tough bounce Innkeeper. Yep, sure. 2nd Innkeeper is pretty cool. Let's say we're definitely going to Beanstalk Giant again here. And then probably play 1 Innkeeper into 1 Borrower. That puts good pressure on Teferi and lets us kill Teferi with a double Borrower bounce next turn if they do have Fires plus Sphinx. There is an issue with that in that if they can... losing a Brazen Borrower is not like a small thing. So if we do double Innkeeper, that forces them to choose between casting Fires and casting something that wipes the Innkeepers, which is nice, because it means they get a Beanstalk Giant into play next turn. And Beanstalk Giant bounce backed by double Brazen Borrower is actually pretty brutal against them. That makes me want to lean slightly in the direction of just casting Innkeepers. Close call. I think I'm interested in Innkeepers here. If they have Clarion, so be it. That does mean they're not casting fires, and it means I get to start casting Beanstalk Giants when they're not prepared for them yet. Really hoping they just go fires into Sphinx here, and just don't even think about the Innkeepers. They could go fires into Clarion, which would be sad, but then I can double Borrower, Tef plus fires. Fires into Sphinx, fires into Sphinx. Excellent. All right, so now things are looking extremely good for us. Extremely good. Escape the Wilds is just bananas. Like, that's by far the best thing we could have asked for. We're just going to Petty Theft. So yeah, this is a broken hand. This is exactly what the deck wants to be doing. Can't always count on having double Bone Crusher Giant, of course, but this is exactly what we want to be doing all the time. So Escape the Wilds. Get a bunch of stuff, sure. Only one land, a little disappointing, but Fae of Wishes is great. Fae of Wishes means we're insulated against a lot of the types of plays that would have killed us before. It also means we get to get Return to Nature and kill the fires next turn, if we want to. All right, so our 1/1s for 1 looking super broken there. Just doing excellent work against Tef. Let's see what they bring in off of fires here. Just a Cavalier Flame, sure, whatever. Okay, so hit the land, great. So first priority is we're definitely using Fae of Wishes here. That's non-negotiable. We do want to find a Return to Nature. We actually have no red cards, so I should be a little bit less lazy about tapping my lands there. Fae of Wishes, granted. Grab Return to Nature. And grab, oh, you know what I actually get to do instead? Oh, if I had a counter here, I could grab a counter, and then Brazen Bar would make them look very silly, but all the counters are in the main deck, which is definitely the right thing to do. It's not a thing that is the wrong thing to do. That is where they all are right now. So what do I do now? I'm just going to get Fling, I think. We don't have a ton of lands just yet, but I guess I can get Fling Expansion with the second Fae of Wishes. What do I do now? Maybe it's just some card that's generically good. I could get Expansion now because Explosion's fine. I could get Chandra because Chandra is excellent if they don't have fires out. Let's get Chandra. I'm not sure about that one. Sure about that one at all. And I'm just going to play the third copy of Innkeeper. And I'm going to make a token with the Lovestruck Beast. And then I'm going to return to nature the fires, or do I just double bounce here? That's another question. Pretty comfortable, actually. Let's. So the thing I'm scared of is them killing the Innkeepers here, right? Because if they don't kill the Innkeepers, I'm going to win with just pure card advantage very easily. I think this is actually double bounce, although it's close. I have one timeout to burn, thankfully. Or is it return to nature? Actually, let me just return to nature here. I think. Problem is, I actually should have probably put the Steam Ends to play untapped and then just had the option to do both of those things. That's probably my fault. Play that one untapped, no attacks. If they have Deafening Clarion, I lose a lot on my board and they get to attack me pretty hard, which is sad, but then I played Chandra and killed their Cavalier Flame. And have a huge number of backup creatures here. And a Brazen Borrower in the wings. So they're in sad, but if they don't have another fires, we just should be able to win from here. Okay, this does not look like Clarion so far. Another fires, all right. And Cavalier of Gales, so that's going to attack for a bunch of damage, but then I get to bounce a bunch of stuff. Okay, so the opponent does choose to attack. We can attack them back for a good amount of damage too. Possible Chandra was worse than something else might have been there. Let's see. So, could kill the Cavalier Flame. That's definitely something I'm interested in looking at as an option. With Chandra and then just Fae of Wishes, hold up Brazen Borrower. All of those things sound great. Let's start with Fae of Wishes in case we draw something that changes our minds. Many lands. Okay, nothing that changed my mind there. In that case, let's go ahead and Chandra. Do I mow down Flame or do I mow down Gales? Mowing down Flame gives me some pretty good attacks here, but then Chandra's vulnerable to getting killed by Gales. I think if they don't have Cavalier Flame, Fires becomes way less scary, especially with this Brazen Borrower in hand. Let's just do this. Let's attack for 5 damage this turn. Okay, so opponent would have been pretty darn. Actually, would the opponent have been dead to Fling? If 10 lands in play, opponent would have been actually dead to Fling if I had gotten Fling. So note to self, probably would have been nice to get Fling there. Now the question is, do I just double bounce Fire's Cavalier? They don't know I have this Borrower, so I don't think I want to try double bouncing Fire's Cavalier yet. This lets them cast a Cavalier, the Flame again if they have one. But then they're probably going to do a bunch of discarding, assuming they have more damage than they do. The question is, should I bounce the Fires in response to this, because that means they don't have mana to do things? Maybe. I think I'd rather just embarrass their attack here, if I can. Cavalier of Gales comes down again, sure, so that one resolves. And then Double Borrower. Ooh, I actually should have the win next turn thanks to the power of Lovestruck Beast getting flung. I think that's a win. I haven't really counted out yet. Let's see what they do here. 3 Double Borrower. Fire's Limit means that this is not going to stop us. Opponent going for extra power and toughness, because why not? Bounce the other Cavalier of Gales. And then let's do some math after this is all done. So, math. Next turn, I am going to have, they can take me to 3. I can play a land next turn, untap. So I have 11 mana, which means I can go Fae, come back to my hand. Granted, leaves me at 5 mana. Then I play Lovestruck Beast. Okay. I'm not blocking, and I'm killing them with Fling next turn. Close call for sure, and I definitely punted by not playing the Steam Vents untapped there. That was my bad. Now they're dead. Okay, so we do dupe dupe. Bring you back, discard 2 painful lands that I can't use. Yep, can't believe I played this deck without flinging it for a while. That was silly of me. Fling. And whatever. Play this land. Play Lovestruck Beast. Pulling up red mana, thankfully, because we have Fling in hand. I should be looking more carefully and making sure the auto tapper does get me, but we did have the Fling in hand, so I think we were pretty safe. There's all the counters I didn't have earlier, sure, whatever. Target the opponent with Lovestruck Beast, and yeah, Edgewell Innkeeper looked amazing this game. Just actually being aggressive is one of those things I probably undervalue against the Fire Sticks. I'm so scared of what they can do. But that was pretty clean. That was great. All right, so Preddy played really well, but we had just the nut draw on the play, and the nut draw on the play does do the thing. So that was great. And I think it's starting to get a little bit on the later side, so I think I'll cut the stream off here. That was fun. So I think we went, what, 4-1 on the stream? Beat a really good player on Fires as the last match. A really fun, long match, and got a pretty good video out of it too. So thanks everyone who tuned in. That was great. You can use the link that I'm about to post in chat to find the deck in case you aren't sure what's in it yet. Just throw that one up there for you. Actually, someone's thrown it up in chat already. So let me just copy that from them. And I'll also post a Reddit thread that I made about the game. Patrick, are you? Oh, good games, Patrick. I guess it's just an arbitrary thing of goodwill. For a second, I was wondering if you were Preddy. I suppose you are probably not Preddy. Here's the Reddit post about the deck that I wrote. I should mention, of course, this is not my original creation necessarily. It's sort of a deck that I saw someone playing on ladder who got it from someone else, and so on. I was just the person who sort of made this version, got to one with it, wrote the Reddit post, but a lot of other people have worked on and played this deck. And if I hadn't happened to run into Goyf playing Escape the Wilds and Bone Crusher Giant while I was trying to play Murderous Rider with my Lucky Clover deck, I might never have stumbled onto this really good version. So hope this was fun for y'all, and have a good night. Bye.